Ethan had lived in Brooklyn Heights for 3 years, but the neighborhood still felt like a maze of hidden stories, a labyrinth of untold tales waiting to be discovered. Every morning, he'd walk his usual route, past the stately brownstone buildings, their stoops like welcoming arms. He'd wave to the owner of the corner bagel shop and end his walk at the park overlooking the East River, where the city unfurled itself like a map. One Saturday, the air was crisp, and the sun cast a golden glow on the water. Ethan was sketching the Manhattan skyline from the promenade, his pencil scratching against the paper, trying to capture the soul of the city in graphite. That's when he noticed him. A young man sitting a few benches away, headphones on, foot tapping a silent, frantic beat against the concrete. The rhythm was infectious, even from a distance. Curiosity got the better of him. Ethan packed up his sketchbook and walked over. The young man looked up, a friendly glint in his eyes. His name was Jordan, a musician who had just moved from Chicago, trading the Windy City's blues for New York's jazz. Their first conversation was clumsy, endearingly so. Ethan, usually so articulate, found himself complimenting Jordan's sneakers, just blurting it out. Jordan laughed, a warm, genuine sound that echoed across the promenade. He teased Ethan for sketching buildings instead of the far more interesting people around them. Despite the awkward start, something clicked. They began meeting at the promenade every weekend, a new ritual that quickly became the highlight of their weeks. It was there, with the city as their witness, that they shared their dreams. Jordan spoke of his ambition to perform in the small, intimate jazz clubs scattered throughout the city, his hands moving as if he were already playing an invisible piano. Ethan confessed he was an architect, fascinated by how buildings, like people, held memories and told stories through their very structure. Their worlds, on the surface, seemed so different. One was built of sound and melody, the other of concrete and steel. Yet their passions and their perspectives fit together like perfectly matched puzzle pieces. They were two different languages telling the same story. One evening, as the sky turned a deep shade of indigo, Jordan invited Ethan to a tiny bar in the East Village. The place was dimly lit, smelling of old wood and spilled beer, but it had a soul. Jordan took a seat at an old, slightly out-of-tune piano in the corner. As his fingers danced across the keys, a melody filled the room. Ethan realized he wasn't just listening to music. He was listening to Jordan's heart, his hopes, his fears, all translated into a beautiful, melancholic tune. In that moment, surrounded by strangers, Ethan felt like he was the only person in the room. But New York, for all its magic, isn't always kind. The city that brings people together can also pull them apart. The relentless pace began to take its toll. Jordan struggled to find steady gigs, the rejections chipping away at his confidence. Ethan's architecture firm demanded long, grueling hours, leaving him drained and exhausted. Their schedules, once so easily aligned, began to clash. Text messages went unanswered and planned dates were postponed, then forgotten. The space between them grew, filled with unspoken anxieties and the hum of the city that never sleeps. Doubt, a quiet and insidious weed, started to creep into the foundation of their relationship. One night, after another missed date, the frustration was palpable. Jordan sat on the edge of his bed, the city lights painting patterns on the wall. He sighed, the sound heavy with defeat. "Maybe this city is too big for us," he said softly. "Maybe we're just getting lost in it." Ethan looked at him, at the slump in his shoulders, and felt a surge of defiance. He shook his head, his voice firm. "No, it's not too big for us. It's big enough to hold our dreams, both of them. We just have to fight for them. Together." His words hung in the air, a promise and a challenge. The turning point came a few weeks later. An unexpected email arrived for Jordan's band. It was an offer, a chance to play a set at a well-known, respected club in Brooklyn. This wasn't just another open mic night. This was a real opportunity, the kind he had been dreaming of. But instead of elation, Jordan was seized by a crippling wave of nerves. The fear of failure, of not being good enough, was overwhelming. He was so close to turning it down, to letting the fear win. Ethan refused to let him quit. He became his biggest champion, his unwavering support system. He reminded Jordan of his talent, of the nights spent practicing until his fingers were sore, of the passion that Ethan had seen in him from that very first day on the promenade. "You're not doing this alone," Ethan told him, his hand firmly on Jordan's shoulder. "I'll be there." On the night of the show, the club was packed. The air was thick with anticipation. Ethan found a spot right in the front row, his heart pounding in his chest almost as loudly as the opening band's bass drum. When Jordan and his band walked on stage, the spotlight found him, and he looked out at the sea of faces, his expression a mix of terror and excitement. Then, his eyes found Ethan's. A silent exchange passed between them. A look of encouragement, of belief, of love. Jordan took a deep breath, smiled a small, shaky smile, and placed his hands on the keyboard. As he played, something shifted. The music wasn't just jazz anymore. It was a declaration. It was a love letter composed of chords and harmonies, telling the story of two people finding each other in a city of millions. It was a symphony of their shared struggles and triumphs. The entire room was captivated, but for Ethan, it was a private concert, a song written just for him. Weeks later, they walked hand in hand through the familiar streets of Brooklyn Heights. The city lights glowed behind them, a backdrop they had now claimed as their own. The air was cool, but they were warmed by a shared sense of accomplishment and a deep, comfortable love. Jordan stopped and turned to Ethan, his voice a soft whisper against the city's hum. "I think I found my rhythm here." Ethan smiled, his heart full. He squeezed Jordan's hand and replied, "And I found mine in you." The city that once felt so vast and overwhelming now felt like home. Not just a place they lived, but a place they had built together, one note and one sketch at a time. Thank you so much for watching our story today. If you enjoyed this journey of love and dreams in the big city, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that warm the heart. We'd love to hear about a time you fought for your dream in the comments below. See you next time.